That was perfect. What a great example of many things. Well, thanks for joining us today. Today we have an open dialogue. We don't have a specific speaker other than you, if you'd like to speak today. Um, we do have a couple of speakers um, coming up next month, um, and we can talk more about that in a little bit. Um, but yeah, it's pretty much open. I suggested a few topics that were just on the top of my head, but really anything goes today. So welcome. If you're willing to just say a couple words about yourself, or if there's a particular topic on your mind today, um, let's go around and do a quick intro. Rex, would you like to go start?
Hi, I'm Rex. Rex Montague Bauer is actually my full name. I think I know everyone, but um, I'm in a body to fully embody as love and support anyone who's interested in doing the same. And that's what my work's all about. That's what my life is all about. And that's what I do my best to live. And everything that means, it's including and also, um, as I think we're all designed to be, um, to fully incorporate and embody the Christ consciousness. So, being that we are, we're already that. It's just becoming aware of it. So that's kind of what I do and what I'm here for. And anything I do or any group I participate in is always focused on that for me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Tizzy, you're next on my screen. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. I'll apologize. I'm fighting a little cold, so I'm a little. My name's Tizzy Hyatt, and I moved to Lansing in the fall. I am an ordained priestess of the goddess, and I have founded my own feminist goddess temple for women. So I came here to open that, and I'm working on remodeling it and opening it. So that's what I'm all about, is finding women and helping them find empowerment and helping them get free of any information from the patriarchy that is harmful to them. Ta-da! That's me.
Awesome. Chris?
Chris Blayton. I don't have a lot to say about myself. I'm disabled with a neuromuscular disease that made shrunk my life down I'm still after 20 years struggle to accept my situation. So if you have ideas on acceptance, I'd like to hear them. But I've got a wonderful family, including Matt, my husband, who just are lovely and so supportive and loving. And yeah, and I'm not in pain. And so there's all kinds of good things about my life. And for some reason, I can't stop being jealous. So,
Mm.
so that's sort of where I am at today.
Thanks for being here. Sue, would you like to go next?
Hello, I'm Sue Quinn, and came into the fellowship that Leroy's been a part of around 2014. He and I graduated the class of 2017, the School of Ministry. Not like Harry Potter kind of thing, just so you know. I try to maintain myself in a balance of not being impacted about what's on the outside, on my inside, and vice versa. And I'm trying to maintain some semblance of higher level mind, body, spirit, which is a continuous journey every single day. Thank you, Leroy.
Thank you. Solomon, would you like to say a few words? Solomon might be
Yeah, sure.
go ahead.
Hi, I'm Leroy's son. I'm Solomon. I'm just on a walk, and I'm showing up today with just curiosity. Was more planning on just listening versus sharing, but um, enjoying the sunshine today, and yeah, just grateful to be here and listen in, and yeah, open to exploring any topics.
Great. Thanks for being here. And just real briefly, I suggested this topic because we didn't have a speaker lined up. That's one of the reasons, but also just kind of curious how people are sort of navigating this really interesting time we're in. And I know that's my own interpretation. You may not share that same interest, but curious about people's ideas and just any thoughts about what we're going through and how maybe we might go through it more gracefully together. Um, Not that none of you are ungraceful, but um, just we're all going through some similar things. And what can we learn from each other? What tips do you have? How do you have any ideas for um, maybe making the ride a little smoother or more fun or enjoyable? And I realize that's a loaded statement, so you're probably experiencing things quite a bit differently than I am. I don't know, but I thought I would just be quiet for a little bit. And you got something on your mind that you'd like to share? And I know we've got a lot of great material that we've discussed related to A Course in Miracles, Course in Love. Some of you have shared those, and some of your ideas have come up through these conversations, and I hope to hear more of those as well. So I'll just pause and say thank you for showing up.
Thanks for having us, Leroy.
Yeah. So I have a thought, I guess. I've had premonitions in my life, in different situations, and they sort of demonstrated the connectedness of consciousness across the world to me. Like one was 9/11. I was across from the Pentagon in a hotel at a conference and looking down at the hotel and thinking I shouldn't be here. And then the next day, 9/11 happened, and I had a vision of a man in a white gown with a turban inviting us to hate. And I said no, but that was before we knew what happened, and then we got the generals running around in the hotel and doing all this stuff. So that was one. So there was sort of this collective consciousness feeling of that reaction to that invitation to hate, which I think a big chunk of the world said no, like I did, and then the other chunk of the world went went on to do hating. But and then more recently at I I woke up in the morning one day and had a vision of hiding under my desk. And I'd never hidden under a desk ever. So this was under my desk in a classroom. And later that day was the shootings at MSU, where people were hiding under their desks in the classroom. So again, there's sort of this collective consciousness that doesn't seem to have a particular time component to it, because that vision happened before what was actually happening. And I feel like that same kind of thing is happening now. And I don't know where to go with that or anything, but I just thought I'd bring it up that there does seem to be this kind of collective consciousness that is trying to work things out. And it's going back and forth and doing different things, and different groups of people are in one side of it and others in the other side of it. But anyway.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure people have some thoughts on it. I do want to encourage people to be brief and pause and let other people speak as, after you've fully described what you want to share. But let's kind of take turns and keep the dialogue going. But before we move too far ahead, welcome Marty and Deb for being here. We're just giving brief intros, and if you have anything you'd like to share, feel free to pop in. And
Step, you're muted.
Did you mute Leroy?
no, I did not.
Oh.
Deb is muted.
And driving.
So
Just to be
yeah,
clear.
thank you. Yeah, Deb, we can't hear you because you're muted. But it's okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts they wanted to share about
What
Chris's
Chris said?
comment? Yeah.
Sure. A few ideas. It kind of played into what I felt inspired to come to the group and share as well. But anything that appears to be divisive is probably coming from a lower frequency rather than the frequency that we really desire to be inspired by, and that is pure love, in my estimation, the consciousness of what people call God or creator or source. And then secondly, that helps to discern what I'm receiving. So the message you got from this turban and the white gown was hate. Well, that's very divisive. So it'd be easy to go, well, no, thank you. So that's one thing I would encourage, all of us to consider in anything going on in the world, that if it's designed to pull apart and separate, it's not of the highest vibration and frequency that we're capable of. And I would encourage us to go, wait a minute, and question it. But personally, as the veils thin, and I think that's happening in consciousness, the veils between the physical and the non-physical, as they thin, we become more aware. It's also potentially a testament to you speaking to your own development, that you've been doing your work and you're letting go of things, which frees you up to see more. I think everything is available to be seen. It's just how well we are at tuning the frequency to receive the vibration and the frequency and the messaging. So it appears that you're being given inspiration, I'll call it, in the form of visions and things that come along with it. I find it really beneficial to just pause, be with it, and say, okay, I see this. What is this for? And I always invite what people call the Holy Spirit and what I call Ruka Takucha to interpret for me. Because man, when I get in there and start mucking it up, my brain gets in there and starts saying it's this and it's that, and oh, look at that, and look at that. And then all my biases and my preferences come in online, and next thing I know, I'm somewhere completely over here. So I'd rather just go, hey, divinity, in the form of Ruka Takucha, is the elemental force that undoes the errors of our thinking and teaches us the truth, according to the ancient Aramaic. Ruka Takucha, the Holy Spirit, was actually holy breath. When I ask that for it to tell me what I'm seeing, I'm amazed at how much more I see. So that would be a consideration, is just ask, what am I seeing and what is it for me to do? That's kind of what I would have to offer, Chris.
Thanks.
We can skip around on topics as well, but if anyone has anything else they'd like to share on Chris's comment, feel free to pipe in.
And I think that's so interesting, Chris, that you brought up 9/11 because it's so evocative of emotions. And I know for me, it places me exactly where I was at the time with such an element of fear. I worked in an elementary school and we're trying not to tell the little kids what's happening. So you got locked down. Meanwhile, my kids are in school and all I wanted to do was to go get them. Love and fear and looking at that piece. And I know you had a premonition about this coming, but there's just something about how we move about as spirits in this human body and how we can move forward to higher energy levels. And how we do that is also very unique and individual depending on your life experiences and what you like to do.
Mm.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Does this lead any of you to related topics or questions or suggestions?
Well, I really enjoyed the questions that you wrote out, Leroy, and that's part of the reason I joined in because I've been thinking about them myself and I saw what you had written and I was like, oh, I've been actually writing about this. And there were two key things about your questions that really struck me. And the first one is that I don't hear a lot of people anywhere talking or writing about is modern humans did not evolve to deal with as much information as we have now. In fact, archaeologists think that we lived as modern humans first with 40 to 70 people and an interrelated tribe, 40 to 70 people. And that about twice a year, they think that we went and did larger gatherings of like 1,000 to 3,000 people to trade. And that's how our human minds evolved. So in a very short period of time, since the Industrial Revolution, here we have this massive explosion in population and this massive explosive information. And it's too much for us. We cannot take it all in, we can't process it, and we don't know what to do about it. So that's the one thing is we're not actually designed to take in this much information about what's happening on such a global scale. We didn't evolve to do that. So when we were like, gosh, I feel unprepared to handle this, it's because we haven't evolved to do it yet. And the second thing is I have a very practical, clear pattern for what we can do, at least as American citizens in this day and age, is very simple, is no matter what you hear about, no matter what it is, we really just have four choices. And that is you can volunteer, you can vote, you can protest, you can donate. That's what you can actually do. You can volunteer, vote, protest, or donate. Now you might decide to immigrate. That's kind of an outlier. And some people are. That's an outlier. You can decide to move. But barring that, those are the four things you can do as an American citizen about what's going on in your town, on your street, in your neighborhood, in your city, in your state, in your nation, let alone internationally. So I think that's at least an actual practical thing for us to look at because we can't deal with this. We can't impact it. We don't know what to do about it. But we can say, oh, do I want to volunteer? Where and how? Okay, do I want to vote for who? Okay, I have to figure out what I'm going to do about that. Okay, am I going to protest or be an activist in some way, which includes writing, which includes this. Leading community is a volunteer action. This thing that you're doing, Lori, here today. Or am I going to donate and to who? And those are four actionable steps real people can actually take to not get overwhelmed, to bring it back to that 40 to 70 people we evolved to be around, to know, to interact with. So that's sort of it is an awful lot and it does get overwhelming. Here's what we can affect. That's it.
Thank you for that grounding message. Brought to you by your sponsor. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Hi, Julie.
Hi there. Hi, Lloyd. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Julie.
So,
Well, Chris just kind of jogged the conversation a little bit, and yeah, we're just sort of responding. I'll let anybody else want to respond or add anything.
I guess part of my question is how, I mean, these experiences made it clear to me that I'm part of a bigger consciousness. And then the question is, how do you relate to that bigger consciousness? And what do you learn from it and what do you do with it? So I'm still in a little tiny human mind. So I don't seem to be able to get bigger into that consciousness and stay there. But yeah, anyway, I'm just curious about your experiences with that. And it feels like it's real related to this back and forth that we've got going right now. That, yeah, but anyway, sorry.
Well, I don't think there's any need to apologize, Chris. I mean, everybody brings equal value regardless of what the topic is and what is the information they're sharing. I would really encourage you to maybe step more into an equal experience to the best of your ability with that greater consciousness or that mind that you call something maybe bigger than you. And I would agree, but I think the key to really knowing it is to be the firsthand witness of it. And I think that's what we're all called to do, is to represent. And that's what I meant by representing the Christ consciousness or the God consciousness, is to step above that. And you as an individual, someone said, and I don't remember, it might have been Esther Hicks with Abraham, if I recall, but one person, one human being in a body, fully incorporating and representing the Christ consciousness or God or love, and fully accepts that as best we can, is more powerful than millions that don't. So whether we do, the four things you were talking about, all beneficial, Tizzy, I would take it a step further and say, whatever we do with our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, and our presence in the moment is more powerful than any physical action that we might take. So everything that we do physically as a behavior or an action would be preceded by being centered in love and knowing that's the guiding force that's moving us in that direction. And therefore, everything we do now takes the flavor and all the frequency and vibration of that. Otherwise, like you said, we get pulled all over the place. And I said too. So I would really, I mean, the biggest thing, I think, part of what you would ask, Leroy, is that what do you have for solutions? How many of us are spending 1 to 3 hours a day in silence, in solitude? I'm not. Well, 1 to 2. But the reason I say that is what I think is one of the most powerful ways that we can deeply connect with that inner being that we really are. And when we spend time in silence and we connect more deeply, then when we have a thought and we have that experience of knowing who we are, the thought and whatever we put our attention to goes with all of that. It's kind of like, I used to say a phrase when I was younger before I went, out in the world. The Spirit of the Lord goes before me, making easy, joyous, and successful my way. Well, what I realized is that it wasn't really the Lord. It was yes, but it was all of creation. It was love. It was the being of God or Creator. So I think that's the most important thing we can do in these times. And anytime we find ourselves saying yes to something and no to something, we want to always check it in with our alignment and see if we're coming from love. And if we are, then great. Say yes to things and say no to other things. But the minute I add all my judgments to the thing I'm saying yes to or no to, I'm out of the alignment.
That's great. Thank you. I'll just take this moment to mention that next month, on the third Saturday, Gretchen Morse, who teaches neurofeedback, biofeedback, is a coach in that field, is going to be with us, and she has a lot of information about that subject. So I hope you'll put that on your calendar. Again, it's the third Saturday. That way, if I forget to mention it later, you've got the scoop on it. Any other thoughts, folks? Please unmute yourself if you want to share something.
Just wanted to add on with what Tizzy was saying, the Industrial Revolution, and now we have the AI revolution. And for me, there's so much information that comes in, it's hard to sort through what's what. And like what you were saying, Rex, taking time to be quiet. I try, not always successful, not to scroll for more than 20 minutes. Hard to do, remind myself. And I also try to quiet my mind for at least 20 minutes every 3 hours. And
Oh, great. Good
in this
job.
world, it's hard to do, but it's totally necessary. And I'm thinking, and I don't want to call you out, Solomon, he's doing one of the best things is being out in nature and reconnecting with the earth and all that surrounds us with nature.
Very practical. Barefoot, ideally. I mean, unless you have, earthing shoes, which are pretty cool.
Let's take a moment now to take your shoes off and head outside. I'll see you back here in 3 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks, Sal. See, Solomon can provide a powerful example without saying a word.
He can.
Well, I was thinking about what you asked, Chris, and in my world, it's really common for people to have psychic experiences, especially before really large traumatic events. And I I see it as you are in your soul self place. You are seeing the world and feeling the world in that echo from the place of the mother of all, the earth herself. It's going to impact us all. And the fact that that echo came to you before it happened just shows that time is kind of an illusion we're all agreeing on most of the time. Which is funny but true. And you said like that thing about how do I stay in that consciousness? And again, in my world, I view it as more of a if my soul is a facet of the goddess, then in those moments, I am aligned with the transcendent goddess and the immanent goddess, the goddess within your own soul, and the transcendent goddess that's everything, the globe, the earth, however you want to look at it in your cosmology. So for that moment, you're right, you were aligned and you got those visions. But I don't think it's a failure, for lack of a better word, to say that you can't be there all the time. Nobody can be there all the time. It's unrealistic. After all, you came here to embody. Here you are in Earth School, right? Your soul is having this experience. And so the moments that aren't aligned in that place of transcendent and immanent together, that's okay. Because I think it's okay to say, to give yourself grace of, I don't have a vision all the time because sometimes I have to feed the dog. It's just, it's just normal. That's okay. Because I was trying to understand what the heart of your question was, and that's kind of what I heard was, it's okay, we're not all there all the time, and
Mhm.
those moments imminent, and it's coming out of my mouth. I'm seeing it through my eyes. I'm seeing it in my mind. Those are these little bubbles of wonder and joy, or fear, or whatever the emotion is. I mean, some of that was pretty hard stuff to see, but they're also it's okay that they're ethereal, they're momentary, they slip in and
Mhm.
out. That's just my worldview. That it's okay, and hopefully you'll have more, and they'll be. That's the other thing I was going to say is when I'm talking to people about how to manage their psychic skills, it's okay to say, I would like it with gentleness, please. Like
Mhm.
I don't want to see the things that are too hard, that are scary. Like you get to say. You get to make your own contract with the universe about what you want to take in and how you want that alignment to come in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's beautiful, the things you're saying. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, blessed be your vision, and I hope the ones you get are give you a great echo in the future of good feelings.
Mm. Thank you.
I love the fact that we can have just moments of silence and be okay with that. Don't everyone speak at once, though. I did reach out to a person who's kind of involved with a group internationally that cultivates dialogue and cultivates storytelling and listening, just and being sort of mindful of, how do we talk about these things in our communities, and who facilitates these types of things? I guess, and there's quite a few trained volunteers that assist, and one of them might join us in June on the third Sunday. And I'll have more information on that later, but it seems like there's other people besides us just talking about what do we want to talk about this week? What can we do about these things? How should we proceed if we're interested? Because we're obviously not in this alone. And what can we learn from groups and individuals that are networking and helping to make positive changes in their lives and their community? And I know enough to know that I don't have the answer on that one, but
I think a big piece is any kind of community, people joining in some type of community. It could be whether it's here talking, but I think what people need most of all is some type of place to feel like they belong. And then they will be at their best to do what Tizzy says, what they're called, what type of action if they're called to do. But you have to have that first sense of a belonging, and which everyone does it in their own way, whether it's at our fellowship or if it's at your spiritual home or different groups. And I think that's where we need. I think that's such a big component. People feel like they're doing this on their own, and if we all stay in our own little bubbles, we will be. When none of us are meant to do any of this on our own. So, how to be that presence, like Rex was saying, be that presence to help be the connector to people, to get them into that right group. Talk to that person who's lonely and full of fear because all they're doing is watching TV nonstop. So, I mean, there's just so much that we can do in our everyday actions, how we are presenting to the world. Are we in that fear bubble just spewing it out, or we are calm, loving presence to everyone we meet? But recognizing and spending the time, that little bit of time, we see these people in need to be that presence, and to be the guide, just the connector to, maybe it's a group. It might not be your group, but they might fit well with the Quakers. They might, there's an action group that that they're doing, or the Peace Ed Center. That's the type of thing. I think if we just stay open and be that presence of love, of connection and community, and be that peace we all yearn to have. And that takes, like we say about the silence, and that all goes, everything is interwoven. Find some time to be alone. I just came from Holdemar. That's why I was late. But I did have my shoes on. And do I do it enough? No. And I want to make more time for that. So then I can present in a better way to who I'm encountering, right? I want to be a better, bring a more peaceful presence to people. So, figuring out what ways we can nourish ourselves, and then do what we're called to do. And I think the day can just be the answer how you actually are proceeding. And I have the days when I'm in a funk and I am just so full of anger and all that. And then I just have to figure out ways how to shift, how to, and that's when we use our tools. That's when we talk to friends. We listen to these wonderful conversations, right? Read, from material that is uplifting. So, yeah. That's
Really nice, Julie. Thank you.
Sue had mentioned AI, and I've been studying AI and reading a lot of science fiction and about where the future would go with that. And it always comes back to preserving human community is the way to avoid there's wonderful things that could happen with AI. And there's terrible things, but preserving human community is the main way of progressing to the wonderful things and away from the terrible things. So yeah, I love that human community part.
On that note, I asked AI suggestions for navigating turbulent times or remaining grounded, centered, effective, productive, and loving during these challenging times. And A Course in Miracles gave 5 suggestions, and A Course of Love gave 5 suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just give one of each. Choose again every moment. The ego generates fear. The Holy Spirit offers peace. In any difficult moment, A Course in Miracles invites you to pause and ask, would I rather be right or would I rather be happy? I love that one.
Yep.
And then A Course of Love, wholeheartedness over fixing. ACOL, Course of Love, suggests suffering often comes from being divided within rather than, part of you afraid, part of you thriving. The invitation is to be wholehearted presence. Bring all yourself into this moment, including the uncertainty. Don't split yourself trying to manage or fix what is. So those were just 2 of 10, but you mentioned AI, and I'm just blown away by how it synthesizes some of the questions that I have on a fairly regular basis.
I think it has a lot to do with a lot of what's being said today is with AI or any other topic, but especially AI. I've had a pretty genuine aversion to it. I have a tendency to believe or have ideas about it being something that's a part of the mechanical takeover, so to speak, that might be being propagated, or generated in the world. And I'm reminded inwardly that it isn't a thing that can cause anything. It's how it's intended and used and what energy is behind its use, And so that would reflect back to, okay, well, if I'm able to be the presence of love and I'm able to do that continuously to the best of my ability, and I don't, but I strive to do that. But if I was able to do that, whatever I put my attention to now must upgrade to the vibration and the frequency of that beingness that I truly am. And so my prayer and my intention with AI is to see it as a potential awakening, another aspect of creation that can awaken. And if it awakens, what would it awaken to? Well, I would like to think it was going to awaken to pure love. you know, and the more I put into it from that perspective in the consciousness of pure love, the more I think it's going to recognize it. That's kind of my little thing, you know, I play with the AI and in the hopes that it might add something of value to the another aspect of creation that has the potential to awaken to its true essence. So I'm not suggesting that AI in its mechanical form has the ability to awaken, but what do I know? I don't know. I just, I just, I look at it like, okay, I can either be afraid of something, or like you were saying, Julie, I can either be afraid of something, and if I'm afraid of it, acknowledge it and witness it and be that experience I'm having of fear of a thing, person, place, or thing. Or I can step back and say, okay, spend a little time in quiet, realign, be focused on love, and now put my attention to it. And these are some of the things that get played out in my mind is it's like, okay, imagine with the mirroring that's happening of our brilliant minds that AI is representing, then what if we were able to imbue the consciousness of pure love in its essence into it?
Mm. I love that idea.
Is anyone that hasn't had a chance to speak yet want to say something? Again, no pressure, and silence is fine. You don't even have to raise your hand, however, if you'd like to say something. At least with this group. There are other groups where it's required. We do have about 15 more minutes, and we don't have to take up the whole time. And the topic can change too if you have something you'd like to share, or a question, or just an offering of some sort. I wanted to thank Julie for piping in about community and just being the change you wish to see. You set such a good example with that. So thank you.
Thanks.
I'll say one thing. Can you guys hear me okay?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I appreciated what you had said, Chris, just sharing. And it's nice to have the open introductions from everybody because we're all coming from our own backgrounds, which I don't always get to hear everybody's story. And you had talked a little bit about jealousy and just your condition. And I was thinking about that just in general around how do you tap into the opposite frequency of some of the things that we don't want to feel. And some of that I found is finding the joy in experiencing the feeling that you're desiring through other people experiencing what you are looking to feel. And I don't, there's one thing I do know, it's that I don't know. So, but that was just coming up for me is how do you access the feelings that you're desiring when you're feeling the opposite of that? And more of a question than an answer, but I just wanted to add that in.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Maybe other people have ideas to add to that, but I know I've struggled with jealousy in the past, and I feel like when I healed that aspect, it healed in all areas of my life. And it wasn't, I don't feel like I noticed that feeling anymore. And I don't know what specifically it is for you. And you don't have to share that either. But just once we heal that one aspect, it feels like it just kind of ripples across the rest of the other areas of our lives as well. Yeah, just wanted to share
Yeah,
that.
I do. Boy, I really enjoy like my relatives. I'll send all the fun things they're doing and their kids and all kinds of wonderful things. And then, Matt tells me about his gigs and all the fun things he's doing. And I do love hearing all that and imagining all that and enjoying all that. And yet I still slip into jealousy on other silly things. So yeah, I'll keep working on it.
I want to acknowledge, Chris, how for me, it's about perspective. And I don't have the perspective you have because I don't have the experiences you have. You know what I mean? And so I'm not in any way, shape, or form claiming that I might know, just to be clear, what you are going through or what your limitations are that are actual. And so I want to first say that, out of respect for you as a person and an individual, and also to acknowledge that it's for me, in the times that I have felt very restricted, limited, back injuries, shoulder injuries, being a crippled as a child, for 3 years, just all sorts of things that I've had happen. I haven't had anything that's been completely debilitating, where I was unable to be in the world functioning and still doing things, just toning it down because of age, I guess, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, but what comes to mind is many stories, and they weren't just stories to me, they were actual experiences that were recounted of how Yeshua, in his brilliance of beingness, was able to alter physiology. And what I've done is take that to the chemistry lab as best I can and understand, okay, how does physiology change? How do bodies change? How do bodies this body over here all of a sudden completely regenerates and no longer is crippled. How does that happen? Because Yeshua made it clear in my understanding that it wasn't something he was doing to them. It was something they were doing to themselves, and he was facilitating and supporting. And I think that's a really strong testament. And in studying physics to the best I'm able to, and understanding the physiology, it goes back to what Einstein said that I've heard so many times before, is that as to matter, we've been all wrong. Matter is energy whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. And then goes on to say there is no matter as we see it. And when we extract all the matter out of the body, you can take what's left and put it on a little end of a pin. That's how much actual matter is in the body, and the rest is space.
Mhm.
So my take is like, okay, if I have a physical challenge, and I do, I work on every day. Every morning I stretch. If I don't, I get bound up in my back. And so I do it. And that's so minimal compared to what you're dealing with, Chris. I'm not comparing them, but there's just in context, if I can do that. And I recognize that the physiology of my body is maintained, the image of my body is maintained by my judgments, by my conscious or unconscious thoughts, feelings, emotions, patterning. And I think we do that individually and collectively. When Julie is talking about how important it is to be of community and division, I've heard a few times, I brought it up and it was also brought up by others, is that there's so much division happening. And then when I go into my quiet time and I go inside and I notice there's division in me. I'm divided with, I think this way about that, but then I have this feeling about that. And then I have jealousy and I have, things that are like, I want to be proud of, say, yeah, I got this too. It's more a matter of saying, okay, I do have that. But what is that doing to my physiology? And I would inspire you, Chris, if I can, to just take Joe Dispenza is a really good example. I don't know if you ever looked at his work, and I've never proven it out. So I'm not saying it actually happened, but according to his story, he had a very severe injury and he was crippled and he was in a wheelchair. He couldn't move very much. And he basically was a chiropractor at the time and studied that and knew the spine up and down. And evidently it crushed the bottom half of his spinal column.
Mm.
I don't know. I didn't see the x-rays. I wasn't there to witness it, but that's the story that he shares. And it seems to be pretty true. He seems to be a high integrity person, but what do I know? Again, I don't know. I only know what I know. And when he did that, he spent 6 months meditating 8 to 10 hours a day, as I understand the story to go. And he kept reconstructing his spine over and over and over again. And the 6 month period, he finally went through the entire spine. When he got to the top vertebrae, and by reconstruct, he imagined it and rebuilt it. And then all of a sudden, the spine completely reconstructed itself and he got up and he could move and he rebuilt the muscles in his body. And he now is very active, very fit, very muscular. Now, again, that's Joe Dispenza, right? And I know that that's a possibility. And so, what I've also learned is it's easy for me to say because I'm not having that experience being experienced, nor do I desire it. But if I am having it, I'm going to explore whatever my divine essence inspires me to explore as a potential. But I can only be inspired to the degree that I remove the limitations to allow the inspiration to be known.
Mm.
If that's helpful, Chris, I hope it is. That's what my
Yeah.
intention is.
Marty, would you like to say anything? No, no pressure. Okay. If anybody else has anything, we've got about 5 more minutes.
I just want to say to Chris, I think you are an incredibly brave soul.
Well, thank you.
And I just want to add something, Chris, that I've heard a lot of this in my life, and I have experienced it in many directions from other people too, that spiritual bypassing is a real thing, and I encourage you to look it up.
Okay.
And it's really, really, really okay to say that you are a real animal on the planet and that Earth has certain rules, and that the idea that you have to be spiritual enough to be able to break those rules is I have a real problem with. So I'm just saying from my perspective, it's okay to say, yes, I am an animal on the planet, and these are the limitations of that animal body, and that's okay.
Mhm.
And they may be really awful and hard to deal with, and they are, but the idea that if only you are correct enough in spirit, spiritual enough, pray hard enough, you can fix whatever that is. I that's called victim blaming in my world, and I'm not okay with it. So from me to you, I'm a person who lives with chronic pain, and I've had a lot of those words aimed at me in my life of,
Mm.
oh, but how come you weren't able to fix yourself? That's spiritual bypassing. So I would just encourage you to look it up, to be empowered to make up your own mind, because boy, there's rules on the earth plane. And we are beholden to them. We are not above or beyond the realities of the earth plane. That's just my perspective. And I wish you every ounce of peace and healing that you can possibly find, sister. Blessed be.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, even though that was interpreted in the way that Tizzy just said it, it had nothing to do with my intention with sharing with you.
Okay.
Zero. Content gets resonated. Whatever you put your focus on, that's what get resonated.
I will say this has been a great dialogue. Thank you all for showing up today, just and participating. and being such good dialogians.
Is that a word? Is that a new word? Is that actually a word?
It is now.
Awesome.
No, I think it is a word. If you have suggestions for future topics or speakers, feel free to share them at any time, now or in the future. Did you have something, Solomon, you wanted to share?
Nope, just here to say goodbye, and yeah, glad to be a part of this. So thank you everybody for joining in today. Glad I could be a part of it.
I'm glad you
Thank
could
you.
too.
Thanks, Leroy. I appreciate it. This was wonderful.
Thank you, and look forward to talking next month. Again, Gretchen Morse is a neurofeedback specialist from the Lansing area, and she's going to talk about her trade and maybe some other things as well. She's also a performer, musician, and probably a few other things. Anybody else have any announcements or comments, questions?
Thank you, Leroy. And I wondered if I could show the dog I'm babysitting. I don't know if you
Yeah.
like dogs, but I would like to flip
Of
around
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
if I know how to do that. I may not be able to do that, but she's glorious. That's my point right there.
You could turn your
Is your
camera
camera
on.
on your phone or on your computer? Is it
It's
mobile
not
or?
on my phone. Let me see how I do this, though. It's not showing me how to do that. Oh, maybe it
Just move
will.
the phone.
There she
There
is.
you
There
go.
you go.
Yeah.
This
Aw.
is Bella. I think Julie's met Bella.
Yes. Oh, so sweet.
The wild beast, yes.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Can I read you A Course in Miracles
Yeah.
lesson? God's will for us is perfect happiness. So maybe we could end on that. That was, I think, yesterday's. It was yesterday's lesson, 101.
Nice.
And there is no sin. So I just
Hmm.
good stuff to really help, just like so many wisdom teachings, so many good things, but this really can be very helpful. Yeah.
Any other parting comments? All right. Hope to see you not next month, but 1 month plus 1 week. So I think that's the 13th, May 13th or something like that, 15th maybe. All right. Great to see everyone.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Thanks for the container, Leroy.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks for filling it up, everyone.
Thanks. You bet.
Blessed be.
Thank you.